Right now on Morning News Now, taking shape with one of his first cabinet picks. President-elect Donald Trump is set to make history, while President Biden is pledging a peaceful transfer of power.
We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win.
What the president-elect is now telling NBC News about his plans for mass deportations and the new invitation from Russian leader Vladimir Putin to the soon-to-be 47th president. Also this morning, Israel sending rescue planes into the Netherlands after a wave of violence. The chaos breaking out after Israeli fans were beaten outside a soccer match in what's being called an anti-Semitic attack. We have the latest. Plus, it's one of the most common ingredients found in many popular over-the-counter cold and allergy medications. But the FDA now says there's only one problem. It doesn't work. We're sitting down with an expert to find out what you need to know about phenylephrine. And Fueled by Kindness will introduce you to the man who's biking his way across the country on a mission to show the good in people. A Good Friday story after quite the news week.
Exactly. It has been a busy one. Thank you for sticking with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We're happy to have you with us as we end the week. We're going to begin this Friday morning with the Trump transition now well underway. We've also got another state being called for the future 47th president to tell you about.
NBC News now projects President-elect Trump has won the state of Nevada and its 6 electoral votes. This is a state Mr. Trump lost in both 2016 and 2020. In fact, it's the first time a Republican has won Nevada since George W. Bush in 2004. This win gives the president-elect more than 300 electoral votes, well past the 270 needed to win the White House. Looking ahead now to his administration, President-elect Trump named co-campaign chair Susie Wiles as his incoming White House chief of staff. She's going to be the first woman to ever hold that job. She was previously Mr. Trump's state director in Florida during the 2016 and 2020 campaigns.
We are also learning new details about one of his top priorities for his second term. The president-elect tells NBC News exclusively that when it comes to border security, there will be, quote, no price tag for his mass deportation plan.
NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns joins us now with the very latest on this transition. Dasha, good morning. Let's begin with President-elect Trump's incoming chief of staff, Susie Wiles. We know she's a well-known, respected operative in the world of Republican politics. She was credited with giving the campaign discipline over the last few months. So why was she tapped for this role in the upcoming administration?
Well, look at the results, Joe and Savannah, that you just pointed out there. The former president winning Nevada, a Republican hadn't won that state in 2 decades. And a lot of this is credited to how Susie Wiles ran this campaign. She is no nonsense, no drama. You know, there's a mantra behind the scenes of let Trump beat Trump. And she certainly lived by that. But she also reined in some of the chaos that tends to follow him and did follow him in his past campaigns and his past administration. This is a campaign that had fewer leaks, fewer backstabbing, just less drama all around. And that was largely thanks to Susie. She was always the front runner for this job. So no surprise, but she's certainly making history, guys.
Dasha, President-elect Trump has not spoken publicly since his victory speech earlier this week, but he did speak with NBC News exclusively. We were just mentioning this. This is about some of his top priorities for when he takes office in January. What are we learning particularly when it comes to that plan for mass deportations?
Yeah, he spoke to our colleague Kristen Welker, telling her that there is no price tag for how much he's willing to spend on this. He feels, he told her that we have no choice as a nation but do this. This has been something he's talked about nonstop on the campaign trail. And now that he has seen this massive win, both in sweeping the swing states and with the popular vote, he really feels like he has a mandate from the American people to carry it out. Still not a whole lot of details about exactly how such a massive undertaking would work, but he is determined to do it, guys.
And Dasha, I mean, Mr. Trump's win over Vice President Harris means he maintains his hold on the Republican Party for the next 4 years. We know he can't run again in 2028 because of the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution, can't do more than 2 terms. But the party is already looking into the future. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, they're looking into the future, but Trump's shadow is long and tall and large. He is still going to have massive influence over the succession plan. He remains a kingmaker who he decides to elevate over these next 4 years, whether it's his now Vice President-elect J.D. Vance or some of the other characters that have emerged from the party. He will wield a massive, massive influence here, but the party does have to figure out what is next, and that's in part why he picked such a young running mate in Vance, only 40 years old, only 2 years of experience in the Senate. But it'll be fascinating to see how this man, who has really reshaped the party in his image, now decides to look at a succession plan.
Because, of course, we are already talking about
I know. Let's just not.
Dasha, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, in his first speech since the election, President Biden reaffirmed his commitment to a peaceful transfer of power and urged Americans to turn the page.
Addressing the nation from the Rose Garden, the president said he had spoken with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory and called on the American people to come together.
Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. Now we have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable.
NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba joins us now from Washington. Monica, good morning. So they're at the end a little bit that we hear the president trying to reassure Democrats. He also took the opportunity to promote his administration's achievements, give praise to his vice president, Kamala Harris, on her campaign. Tell us about some of the key takeaways in what was, I assume, a difficult address to give. What else did he say?
And it was striking, Savannah and Joe, because this was a president who came out and delivered this message. After 8 years ago, he was standing there as the vice president next to then President Obama in a similar situation, congratulating then President-elect Trump and welcoming him to the White House. And that was in contrast to, of course, what we saw in 2020 when the same courtesies were not extended to Joe Biden, when the roles were reversed. So this was really about trying to restore some of that tradition, to talk about the Democratic process, yes, to also acknowledge what the president called, and his own vice president, her historic campaign, and also to talk about and hint at priorities in these final 10 weeks in office, which will be to focus on some of the implementation of some of the legislation, but also to really set this tone that they're going to try to do everything possible to help this be a smooth transition of power, and that they have communicated that to the Trump transition team, which again just stands out in stark contrast to what we saw 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, so President Biden did mention the timeline he's up against now, 74 days left in his term. I mean, what are we learning about what he plans to do realistically with the time he has left? I know there's also questions about whether he would pardon his son Hunter for his conviction on those federal gun charges and his guilty plea on tax evasion charges. Any updates there?
Yeah, and this is something that he was asked about back when Hunter Biden was convicted in June, and he said in a couple of interviews and instances that he was not considering a pardon or a commutation. Yesterday, the White House press secretary was asked the same thing, whether there was any update there, and she said, we've been asked this multiple times, and our answer is still no. But in terms of the agenda and some of the other final priorities, there are still a couple of deals that could be made within some of this legislation, like chips and manufacturing, and trying to get some companies on board to try to use some of the money that's been allocated to actually get that going. But the president was really referring to this yesterday, saying people maybe are only starting to feel the effects of some of the things they were able to do in office, like with infrastructure or with some of these other things that they were able to do with Congress. But there's a real awareness, Savannah and Joe, that some of the things they feel they accomplished could really be reversed fairly quickly when Donald Trump returns to Washington. So there's a focus on that aspect as well.
We're still waiting, of course, Monica, to find out who will win control of the House. But we know Democrats losing the Senate, the White House. And so now leading figures in the party, the finger pointing is starting here. Vermont Independent Senator Bernie Sanders, he accused Democrats of abandoning working class people. How's the Biden administration pushing back on that?
Yeah, and first, the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, said, look, we, of course, overall respect and have partnered with Senator Sanders. But then she did say that specifically on his critique, which was quite blistering, she disagreed on a couple of fronts. And she said specifically that she thought President Biden and this administration had really worked with unions, had really worked with workers, had really prioritized the middle class. And so she argued that their overall case here had been one that should have acknowledged and should have been reflective of the ones that Senator Sanders said had been frankly dismissed or not as appreciated heading into this election. But really, if you look at the demographic shift and what happened and what really took place here in this election, there is a lot of finger pointing and Democratic anxiety about just how wrong things went this cycle. Savannah and Joe.
All right, Monica Alba, thank you so much.
On the world stage, Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated Mr. Trump publicly for his election win yesterday and said he would be interested in talks with the president-elect. The connection and mutual admiration the two leaders have for one another drew much scrutiny during President-elect Trump's first term. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons takes a closer look at their relationship.
President Putin congratulating President-elect Trump, signaling he's open to a meeting, perhaps even before the inauguration.
If he makes a phone call, if he says, Vladimir, let's meet. So you're willing to talk to Trump? Yes, we are.
Holding court for hours at an annual discussion group in Russia. But it is this first reaction to the election that is making headlines, effusively praising Trump.
His behavior when there was an attempt on his life, you know, I was impressed. He's a courageous person. A person shows their true color in these emergencies. And this is precisely one of those cases, and I think he acquitted himself admirably.
If he says great things about me, I'm going to say great things about him. I've already said he is really very much of a leader, far more than our president has been a leader. Getting along with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing.
The two men held multiple controversial summits during the last Trump administration.
I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be. Vladimir, thank you very much.
2 weeks ago, I asked President Putin about his long-running relationship with President Trump. We are weeks away from the US election. Russia again is accused of interfering, and that you have had private conversations with former President Trump. Have you been speaking with him, and what have you been saying?
As for my contacts with Mr. Trump, well, this is a thing that has been discussed through rumors. If the U.S. is open towards building a normal, healthy relations with Russia, then we will do the same. But it's going to be the choice of the future administration.
Putin even echoing Trump election themes, like his suggested ban on transgender athletes in women's sports.
The opportunity for men to compete in women's sports, you know, it simply destroys women's opportunities. Women should compete with women.
The Kremlin saying it's not planning to contact President Biden. The two have not spoken for a long time. But the Kremlin did not rule out a Putin-Trump summit before January, or even a Russian delegation invited to the inauguration. Others in Moscow still cautious of a second Trump administration. Before the election, a pro-Putin lawmaker who was jailed in America accused of spying, telling NBC News,
I served time when Trump was in charge, and the hostile sanctions were placed on Russia during the Trump era, and the expulsion of the diplomats, Russian diplomats, was during the Trump's era, which means I would, differ what people say and what they do. However, being a Russian, I always have a hope.
It's America's adversaries and allies waiting to see what move President-elect Trump makes over Ukraine. One report said the transition team already has proposals for Ukraine. Two European diplomats telling NBC News those plans have not yet been shared.
Our thanks to Keir Simmons for that report. At this point, Mr. Trump has not responded to Putin's invitation to a pre-inauguration meeting.
Let's switch gears to the economy now. As expected, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by a quarter point yesterday.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell faced several questions about President-elect Trump's election win and whether that result would impact the central bank's policy stance. Here's what he had to say.
In the near term, the election will have no effects on our policy decisions. As you know, many things affect the economy, and anyone who writes down forecasts in their job will tell you that the economy is quite difficult to forecast looking out past the very near term. Here, we don't know what the timing and substance of any policy changes will be. We therefore don't know what the effects on the economy would be.
Here to help us digest this decision is Investopedia's editor-in-chief Caleb Silver. Caleb, good morning. So no surprises there when it comes to an interest rate cut, but what did we learn about the health of the economy? What do we think about future rate cuts? I know you're always reading the tea leaves.
Yeah, first of all, that was a fascinating press conference. We'll get into some of the details later, but what Powell was basically saying is that the economy is in really good shape right now. They cut a quarter point because they have the inflation and unemployment picture in check. He even said the goals are in balance right now, so they did cut a quarter point. They've telegraphed that. They'll probably cut another quarter point at that December meeting, but then everything is up in the air. Why? Because we don't know the total makeup of Congress. We don't know if there'll be the extension of the tax cuts. The economy, as Chair Powell said, very difficult to forecast. It is a moving, very interesting ecosystem right now, especially with this election.
This is a very gradual process. When we talk about a quarter point for the average American, their wallets, what does that mean when it comes to mortgage rates, when it comes to credit cards?
Yeah, you would think that the Fed lowering interest rates would help mortgage rates come down a little bit. They've been very sensitive to the 10-year yield. So they've actually gone up, especially this week, as it looks like we're going to have a lot more government spending. That's going to push deficits up. So mortgage rates really haven't responded to that. But what has responded to that is that money looks a lot cheaper to borrow. So we've seen a lot more borrowing activity. We've seen a lot more offers for credit cards with lower APRs. And the flip side of lower interest rates is that you're going to get less in the bank from your savings account or your CDs going forward.
So you, of course, know that now President-elect Trump appointed Powell back in 2017 when he was president in his first term. There has been some tension, though, historically in this relationship. This was one of those things that came up in that press conference yesterday. Walk us through the relationship and what we heard yesterday.
Yeah, Powell was appointed by Trump in 2017 to lead the Fed, replacing Janet Yellen, and he criticized him throughout his term for not being more aggressive on interest rates. And I don't know how much more aggressive they could have been, because remember, after COVID, the Fed floored rates to zero, which got us out of that recession very quickly, got us out of a bear market, but then he jabbed him throughout his term. Powell's term ends in 2026. He was asked very directly by many reporters, and this was probably the biggest question on everybody's mind, if President-elect Trump asked you to step down and resign, will you? Unequivocally, he said no. And they said, why not? He said, that's against the law, right? You can't just kick me out of my job, basically. But he was really tight about it. But he kept getting that question over and over again. President-elect Trump says he wants some influence over interest rates, and there's even been talk of moving the Fed under the executive branch if he could possibly do that.
The entire point, though, of the Fed is it shouldn't be under the executive branch, right? It should be this independent body.
Right. You want the Fed to have the freedom to set interest rates to keep the economy growing and in check, and keep the unemployment picture in check, and keep prices in check. If the executive branch has control over that, there is no telling what could happen. We've seen it happen in other countries. It doesn't end well.
Caleb Silver, thank you so much.
Firefighters in Southern California are struggling to contain the fast-moving mountain fire, which has already destroyed more than 130 homes. At least 10,000 people are under evacuation orders to escape the fire. And officials say it's only 5% contained so far. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin's on the ground in Ventura County with the latest.
Good morning. There is some good news today. There has been progress on the forward progression of the mountain fire. Right now, it is 5% contained, but more than 20,000 acres have burned. And in neighborhoods like the one we're in now, half of the homes look like this. Many left in ruins. The family that lived here, they evacuated with a 7-week-old baby. They tell me within 10 minutes, they believe their home started burning up as they evacuated. We've seen crews walking around trying to assess the damage so far. 132 homes have been destroyed. Another 88 have some sort of damage. The governor of California declaring a state of emergency in Ventura County as crews work to assess the damage and try to stop the forward progression of the fire. fire that is still burning in areas deeper that go into the more mountainous areas. We know that red flag warning has subsided in areas where we are now more of the lower lying areas. But in the mountains, that red flag warning will continue until 11 a.m. today. And officials say that although the Santa Ana winds are dying down, we are not out of the woods yet, because yet another Santa Ana wind event is expected midweek. Back to you.
Dana Griffin, thank you.
Well, now let's get more on the winds and the weather driving these fire conditions. We have meteorologist Angie Lassman here.
Yeah, she's tracking the fire danger out west, also in the Northeast where we're not getting much rain. Angie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. That drought continues to be a concern. We've got, of course, all those ingredients there to see the fire weather continue over at least the next day or so. Let's start in the Northeast, where we've got 49 million people, including folks in Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C., under these fire alerts. You can see in the bright pink, that's a red flag warning. The fire weather watch up as well for parts of Pennsylvania. We've got the drought that I just mentioned, and we've got winds expected to be over 30 miles per hour. So again, all of those ingredients that we've been watching for a couple of days now. Similar story for folks in Southern California, stretching from Santa Barbara County down to the border. We have those red flag warnings up. Now, this is going to be a slight improvement from what we've seen over the past couple of days, but we've still got gusty winds. We've still got low relative humidity, and we still have the potential or lack thereof of seeing any rain across this region. So the drought continues. That means that the really quick fire spread is going to be possible yet again today, especially if some of those embers are caught in the winds. We know how quickly those move and how quickly those fires continue to start. The big picture look of the drought, pretty impressive. I mean, not impressive on the intensity scale, but we have a record 87% of the lower 48 under a drought right now. Nearly every state in the United States has some sort of drought happening right now. And when you specifically look at the Northeast, more than half of it under a moderate drought and 20% in a severe drought. So all of that to say that we need a rain across this region. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot in sight. Where we do have rain is in the middle of the country. There's a winter storm that's working across parts of the Rockies, bringing snow for folks there and bringing rain across the plains. Now, that rain already bringing us flood alerts for Oklahoma and Texas. We do need the rain in this region, but of course, when it all happens at once, it can be problematic, but we'll take it at this point. We've got that snow happening across Colorado. By tomorrow, it moves into the Midwest and parts of the Tennessee and Ohio valleys and stretching down to the Gulf Coast, and we'll watch for impacts there. Now, when it comes to the amounts of rain, 1-2 inches, again, we'll take it. Most importantly, across areas that have severe drought right now, from Texas to Kansas, that's where we're going to have some additional rain. So there is some relief in sight for folks there, guys. But I just showed you almost every state in the country has some sort of drought ongoing. So we could use a little bit of that rain for the Northeast, for the West Coast, really almost everybody at this point.
Yeah, don't love a rainy day, but I think right now we could use it.
Yes, we can.
Absolutely. Thank you, Angie.
Of course.
Coming up, Hurricane Raphael slams into Cuba. The storm plunging the island into darkness. Where it's heading next as victims face days without power.
First, though, dozens of arrests following that, what investigators are calling an anti-Semitic attack outside a soccer match in the Netherlands. We have the latest up next.
We are back now with breaking news out of Europe. Israel is sending at least 2 rescue planes to Amsterdam to evacuate its citizens. That's because several people were injured in violent clashes after a soccer match. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators defied a ban on protests near the stadium and clashed with supporters of an Israeli team. For more, let's bring in NBC News international correspondent Raph Sanchez, who joins us from Tel Aviv. Raph, good morning.
Joe, good morning. Several evacuation aircraft took off from here in Tel Aviv earlier to bring home stranded Israelis after what the government is calling a widespread anti-Semitic attack in a major European capital. Now, there was tension on the streets around the time that the violence erupted. Some of those Israeli soccer fans chanting death to Arabs. But after a lot of confusion earlier, Dutch police are now clarifying they see no evidence of any Israelis taken hostage.
This morning, Israel says it's responding to widespread anti-Semitic violence on the streets of Amsterdam. Fans of a Tel Aviv soccer club chased through the canals and alleys of the Dutch capital by a pro-Palestinian crowd, according to the government. The Israeli embassy in Washington posting this footage, not verified by NBC News, of a man surrounded.
This for the children! For the children, mother. I'll give you my money. I'll give you, please go.
They started to stab, attack, throw into the rivers. Throwing us flash bombs. We are frightened to go in the streets. we are frightened. You know, it's pure anti-Semitism.
The supporters of Maccabi Tel Aviv were in the Netherlands to see their club play a Dutch team. Some Israeli fans chanting racist anti-Arab slurs. Others seen ripping down a Palestinian flag. But later, Amsterdam police saying attackers actively sought out Israeli supporters and assaulted them. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office saying he views the horrifying incident with utmost gravity and demands that the Dutch government and security forces take vigorous and swift action against the rioters. Israel sending several aircraft to evacuate the wounded and dispatching its new foreign minister to Amsterdam. President Biden's special envoy on anti-Semitism tweeting, horrified by the attacks tonight in Amsterdam, which are terribly reminiscent of a classic pogrom. And noting that this weekend is the anniversary of Kristallnacht, the 1938 attack that marked a turning point in the persecution of Jews in Nazi Germany. A dark chapter some fear has not been consigned to history.
Now, this is being taken extremely seriously by the Dutch government. The King of the Netherlands spoke to the President of Israel earlier today, and he told him, we failed the Jewish community of the Netherlands during World War II, and last night we failed again. Jeff.
All right, Raph, thank you so much.
Well, recovery efforts are now underway in Cuba after the second major hurricane in 2 weeks tore through the island. Raphael, a Category 3 storm, knocked out the entire power grid, nearly the entire power grid. NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas has a closer look at the destruction.
Recovery is underway in Cuba after Hurricane Raphael slammed into the island, leaving millions without power. The Category 3 hurricane making landfall Wednesday afternoon. Locals seen fighting the strong winds that at one point reached 115 miles per hour. Buildings damaged as the storm tore through the western region, causing havoc in Havana and flooding streets across the island. One resident detailing the horror her family went through as their metal roof tiles went flying through the storm's winds. The storm further damaging the national power grid just weeks after the island spent days in the dark. Cuban energy officials saying the outages are a result of damage to transmission and distribution networks caused by the storm. Cuba is still recovering from the damage caused by several storms this year. So far, 2 major hurricanes have made landfall, and 2 other storms, including Helene and Milton, leaving a trail of destruction. Now locals bracing for days without power. It seems like it's going to last for days, said this resident, as officials assess the damage in the areas hardest hit. Guad Venegas, NBC News.
Coming up, it's a common ingredient in over-the-counter drugs like NyQuil, Benadryl, and Sudafed.
But now the FDA says it doesn't work. So what does that mean for the decongestants in your medicine cabinet? We're going to talk with an expert next. We're back with new concerns about a key ingredient in common over-the-counter cold and allergy medicines.
The FDA says the ingredient's safe, but it just doesn't work. And now some of the most popular drugs could soon disappear from store shelves.
NBC News medical analyst Dr. Vin Gupta joins us now with more on this. Dr. Gupta, good morning. So just tell us more about this ingredient. What meds is it found in, and just what is the FDA saying about how effective it is?
Good morning to you both. You know, this has been something that we've known for actually over 2 decades, Joe, is then a common ingredient called phenylephrine, which can be found in all types of branded medications, over-the-counter medications that are oral or even nasal sprays used to treat decongestion. So, NyQuil, all forms of other cold and flu type symptom relief medications. These are the things. Sudafed PE is another one that is very common. Unfortunately, just phenylephrine does not work. It's been shown to be ineffective to treat decongestion or congestion-like symptoms. And frankly, we've known this since the early 2000s, and more trials have just confirmed this finding.
The trade group representing these popular drug makers are pushing back against pulling oral decongestants. They shared a survey. It found half of American households use them over the last year. I'm actually surprised it's not more than that. I feel like we all have these. But what should we do if we already have these in our medicine cabinets? If we're hearing that it's not a safety issue, it's just a how well does it work issue, do we need to throw them out?
You don't. I mean, Savannah, I get this question a lot too, is what do we do with this? We throw these medications out today. And the fact is that this medication is likely combined with other active ingredients like Tylenol, like dextromethorphan, a cough suppressant, and those still work. And so my recommendation is to keep these medications on hand, especially if, say, you have a fever during cold and flu season. It's still going to work to treat some of your symptoms. And to your point, there's no safety issue. However, if you're trying to get a new decongestion, or you're trying to be prepared for the next few months, look for a medication that has pseudoephedrine, not phenylephrine. So pseudoephedrine, commonly found in Sudafed, not phenylephrine, commonly found in Sudafed PE. It's very confusing, and it's over. If you have any questions, ask the pharmacist over the counter. But Sudafed, not Sudafed PE, that's going to be the medication that has the right decongestion.
There's a distinction here that's important to point out. The FDA specifically says it's the oral version of this decongestant that's ineffective. The nasal spray version works fine. Why does the same ingredient have different levels of effectiveness?
Yeah, you know, Joe, this is, I mean, sort of shades of gray here. The oral version does not seem like it actually goes to the parts of our nose that can get congested as much as, say, the nasal spray version. So if you're spraying phenylephrine into your nose, enough of it gets there that it can actually help relieve some congestion-like symptoms. You take it orally through any of these sort of cold and flu relief medication type combination formulations, it just doesn't get to the nose as effectively. Again, it's a nuanced thing. It can be confusing for patients. That's why it's important, again, if you're going to go into the pharmacy to get a new type of medication for symptom relief, pseudoephedrine, not phenylephrine. But yes, the nasal spray can work.
All right, Dr. Vin Gupta, thank you so much.
News you can use. All right, let's turn now to your mental health and ask a big question. How authentic are you? Well, authenticity is a word that's used a lot, but experts increasingly point to it as a major key to protecting your mental health. We're going to talk to one of those experts now. Rebecca Schlegel is a professor of psychological and brain sciences at Texas A&M University. Good morning. Great to have you with us. So this is so interesting because we do talk a lot about this concept, but not so much its link to mental health. So let's start with exactly what you mean when you say authentic. How do you sum it up as an expert?
Yeah, well, my opinion as an expert is actually that it's a really complicated thing to define. In fact, philosophers and psychologists who study this all the time are still trying to figure out exactly what it is. But I think the thing that I feel most confident about is that for any one person, authenticity is not just one thing. It's really more of a process, you know, and finding those spaces in your life where you feel self-determination, that you know why you're doing what you do, and that thing that you're doing is consistent broadly with your values. And not necessarily your traits, but really the things that are important to you.
Yeah, that idea of a process rather than a character trait. I feel like a lot of people probably haven't heard of that. What does process mean in that regard? What's it look like? And how does it help your mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's a process. It's really about kind of finding that narrative, right? That situation, that story that helps you understand why the things that you do. As a psychologist, why did I become a psychologist, you know? And I don't think that the true self is any one set of features, like I was born to be a psychologist, but I figured out the ways that it expresses the things that are important to me: curiosity, problem solving, working with people. And so I think it's a process that we go through over our life to find those spaces that let us feel like we are choosing what we want to do, and those things that we are doing are consistent with the things that we care about.
What are some maybe signs, maybe ways that people might feel that could help you pay attention and determine if you are, you know, I feel like this has become like TikTok speak now, but living your most authentic life. But I mean that in the way of what you just said, that it can kind of really align your outer and inner self.
Absolutely. And I think what happens is that sometimes people get really caught on a specific content, a specific feature, a specific trait. Like, am I being as extroverted as I think I really am? And I would encourage people to not get so caught up on any one trait, but look for those situations that feel really, a word we use in psychology is fluent, you know, that it's coming naturally, that it feels easy and it feels right. I mean, honestly, I think if we pay more attention to those things rather than getting too hung up on any specifics, I think that can actually go a long way.
If someone's feeling a little off track in their life, maybe like confused about this alignment within themselves, what steps would you recommend somebody take to become more grounded, confident in who they are, again, on the inside and letting that be on the outside as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say look for those. We know actually from diary studies that most people experience at least some authentic situations every day. And so I think if you just start kind of cueing into what those situations are, you can try to think about how you can either do more of that thing or approach the other things you have to do in life more that way. Like if you realize that you like things that allow you to be curious, how could you approach other things in your life in a curious way? You know, could you pop in a podcast while you're driving to work? Could you do the things at your job that are less exciting, but approach them in a curious way? I think you can try to find ways to frame the things that you're doing in ways that feel more consistent.
Rebecca Schlegel, thank you for joining us this morning. Great info and a good thing to think about this weekend.
All right, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, songwriters from across the country have been competing to write a very special song, a contemporary national anthem that reflects the times we're living in. NBC News Now anchor Zincle Esamoah spoke to the winner about her inspiration.
Nationwide, hundreds answered the call to write a new American anthem. Think about some of the most popular ones. The Star-Spangled Banner, oh, beautiful. America the Beautiful, lift every voice and sing.
Why do we need a new one in 2024?
We need an anthem pretty much every year to mark the year, mark the change.
This is a vast, expansive country, and the idea that anthem writing is for all of us, I think is just an incredibly powerful way of moving through the world.
Make it easy on the reader to hear music out of it.
NBC News followed a first-of-its-kind competition, Anthem to Us, launched in January by the Brooklyn Public Library and Lincoln Center. Applicants' visions intended to reflect America's diverse and divisive landscape. Over 100 candidates ultimately selected to join a 3-part workshop series in New York, all vying to add to the American canon through a contemporary anthem.
Who are you now, America? I am us. She is us.
The movement moves towards justice.
What kind of values do we feel like come from our current anthem? What do we feel like isn't there?
Finalists workshopped lyrics with prolific composers.
We know the ones who wrote the words, but now another voice is heard.
In this land of many, let each one sing.
Rivers flow where we can live, where we can become us.
It just got me thinking about how everyone just wants to be heard. May we each raise our own flag, lift it high, in peace and in memory of every battle cry.
On July 6th, lyricist and composer Jessie Tomsko was announced the winner. She reflected on her American story with her 96-year-old grandmother.
My great-great-grandfather, they were so poor, but she said he saved and saved for a Victrola because he just loved to hear the music. And she just said he'd be so proud that his great-great-granddaughter was making music in this way.
Do you feel like your song captures both the hope of the future for this country, but maybe also the hurts of the past?
Yes.
The desire to create an anthem of hope seems particularly powerful at this moment.
I think so. I think so. I'm a glass half full person. I'm very positive. I always have been. I believe in the best in people.
Could I get the treat, the honor of hearing you sing your song?
Sure. May we raise our own flag, let it fly. May we all unify and let them fly, let them fly. And that's everybody, let them fly.
Oh, I could dig that. Let them fly.
Let it fly.
May we all unify and let them fly, let them fly.
Let Them Fly, an anthem of hope and the possibilities of America. Zinclair Samoa, NBC News, New York.
Coming up, it's a football boot camp that doesn't take place on the field. We'll take you to one of the most coveted training camps in all of sports. That's up next. Welcome back. Let's get a look at what is making financial headlines this morning. Boeing CEO is sounding off on the jetmaker's future now that machinist strike has ended. CNBC's Bertha Coombs joins us now with more and some other money-making headlines. Bertha, I'm happy because machinist is a very hard word for me to say for some reason. So if this is over, maybe I don't have to say it so
Really?
much. Yeah.
That's funny. You know, that was one of the first strikes I ever covered when I started working. It was a machinist strike. So
there you go.
I guess it's one of those words that sticks with me. But at any rate, with the strike now over, Boeing's CEO says that employees who were furloughed during the walkout by factory workers will be repaid for their lost wages. Still, the company is going to proceed with plans to cut about 10% of its global workforce. Boeing furloughed thousands of salaried employees on a rolling basis after the strike began back in September and halted production of most of its passenger planes. The company later canceled those unpaid leaves after announcing the job cuts. Meantime, Bentley is delaying plans to offer only fully electric vehicles by 2030 as EV sales continue to disappoint across the industry. The luxury British automaker will extend the timeline now to 2035. Bentley says that it's still on track to unveil its first fully electric model in 2026, a compact SUV that's smaller than the existing gas-powered version. And it seems like things get earlier and earlier every week and every year. Target is not waiting until Black Friday, and they're not alone. I've seen lots of Black Friday sales like on a Tuesday. It's offering a number of holiday deals right now through December to give customers the biggest bang for their buck. Deal of the Day special started last Friday, actually, and will continue all the way through Christmas Eve for Target Circle members. And Target's also going to host a new 3-day early Black Friday sale, which is underway and ends tomorrow, with thousands of items up to 50% off. Their weekly deals have also returned and will run through the holidays. I don't know about you, but if you sign up for emails from somewhere, I find that now they send you 3 emails a day. It's like, how many sales can you run?
Yeah, that is true. There are a few things that I'm in the market for, though. So whenever I hear that there's a Black Friday deal, I start Googling them. I'm not seeing them so much. Also, what I really need is an artificial Christmas tree, which is probably not going to be on sale until January, huh?
Well, or closer to Christmas. Closer to Christmas.
Maybe.
I have one. If I decide not to put it up, I'll send it to you.
Send it to me. Okay, Bertha, thank you so much. Merry Christmas. See you in a bit. With the NFL season now in full swing, we're taking an exclusive look at how some players are taking their talents from the gridiron to the broadcast booth. A select group of players who are considering a career in television now get the chance to learn from top people in the industry, including analysts and producers. Here's NBC News correspondent Kaylee Hartung with more on this coveted broadcast boot camp.
They're some of the NFL's most seasoned veterans. But for 3 days this offseason, they traded the locker room for a classroom, like Panthers quarterback Andy Dalton.
There's so much knowledge and so much about the business that, you don't know when you're just a player.
Welcome to the NFL Broadcasting Boot Camp.
The advice you're going to get, there's thousands of other people who want to be in these seats who are not going to get it.
Where once a year, a select few players learn what it takes to cover a game.
We're here to talk about being a game analyst today. There's a lot more that goes into that than you probably ever dreamed.
From the producers who do it every week.
You're not in the hot take business when you're doing a game. You can take us to places that we have never gone.
Training current and recently retired players for potential roles calling the game in the broadcast booth or analyzing it in the studio, like Panthers quarterback Andy Dalton, seen here in his demo reel from the workshop.
Now he's getting a chance to go to Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin already has that thing set up. He knows exactly what he wants. You're getting it from the top level people of this is exactly what we're wanting, exactly what we're looking for, and exactly what's going to make you the best version of yourself.
The NFL started the workshop in 2007 for players interested in pursuing a second career. Players like Devin McCourty, Richard Sherman, and Jason Kelsey have all taken the workshop before starting their analyst jobs. One hopeful this year, Brandon Graham. Here's a little of his work from the boot camp.
Him knowing the scheme and then having the weapons that he have. He only had Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, and he made it work.
The defensive end has played more games for the Philadelphia Eagles than anyone in team history.
Does this feel in some ways like starting all over again?
Oh yeah, like a rookie all over again. You ain't gonna get it all, right in the beginning, but just take it one day at a time. Enjoy the whole process.
Why did you want to be a part of this workshop?
Because I wanted to put myself to the test and to see if I got what it takes to be, in this space.
One of those key experts who knows what it takes is Fred Godelli.
You've got to develop all those other areas as well.
Executive producer of Sunday Night Football and Thursday Night Football.
These are guys who have spent their entire careers working really hard, whether in season or off season training, trying to find that extra edge that's going to help them on the field. And one of the things that I always tell them is what made you great as a player, you're going to have to do those same things to be great as a broadcaster.
You all are putting them through real types of reps that we get on live TV. Are you seeing improvement from some of these players in real time?
Yeah, like their first takes, they're all a little nervous. They're not really sure what to expect. They get a little tongue-tied. But after they've done it once, you kind of see the bravado that a professional athlete has to have take hold, and they're much better the second time around.
The league now holds the camp at their Los Angeles studios and has expanded training to podcasts and newer media.
I think any quarterback's going to have an opportunity for success if you have that offensive line.
As some players, like 8-time Pro Bowler and current podcaster Cam Jordan, put it into immediate use.
I love all my notes that I've been taking over the last 2 days. I love the idea that whatever we've been hearing, it's always be authentic, be yourself. And things like I'm doing now, the part, you're supposed to take that out, right? I'm supposed to take a minute, breathe.
Is it a little bit like watching game film as you study?
Absolutely. I'm just trying to make all my notes more pertinent for me.
Adding that repetition to reputation and aiming for success.
There's an old saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And if you could say it in a way that, makes an audience perk up their ears, makes an audience smile, has impact on an audience, you've got a chance to have a pretty solid career.
Kaylee Hartung, NBC News.
What a cool look there. Coming up, he's on a mission across America. We'll introduce you to the social media star being fueled by the kindness of strangers. That's up next.
I am Ada, the humanoid robot artist.
Welcome back. All right, you just heard from one futuristic artist sketching her way into the history books. This is a designer and poet who paints using the cameras in her eyes. And one of her latest works just sold at Sotheby's digital art sale yesterday right here in New York. The 7-foot-tall piece is titled AI God and is a portrait of the mathematician Alan Turing, known as the father of artificial intelligence. The portrait sold to an undisclosed buyer, but get this, for more than $1.3 million. She's believed to be the first humanoid robot artist to have artwork sold at an auction. What do you know? More AI taking over the future. All right, we're going to end this hour with the story of one man who's become a social media sensation. He's been traveling across the U.S. on just his bicycle and relying solely on the generosity of strangers. NBC News Now anchor Gadi Schwartz takes us along for his ride and shows us the incredible kindness he's discovered along the way.
On the wide-open roads of America, an experiment in humanity for Yi Fei Shu. Far from his Shanghai, China home, he's been cycling across the U.S. for more than 4 months, out to prove a universal truth.
You believe in the good of humanity.
Yeah, I want to show that human nature is good.
And for him, the truest test comes down to how a country responds to a hungry stranger just passing through.
So this is what you hold in front of people's houses when you approach them, right?
Yeah. Knock a door. I say, hello, I'm a cyclist, come from China. Can you offer me some food to eat? I'm too hungry.
And it's that smile, too. That's the smile that opens the door.
Yeah.
His biggest rule of the road is the most difficult. No money, only goodwill.
You help me a lot.
And if you think there's no way he can make it across the U.S. without spending a cent,
I can't use money. Thank you.
then you don't know the Americans he's finding day after day.
Well, thank you. What are some of the things that you've learned about America?
To be honest, before I came here, I had a different, and you could even say slightly negative perception of America. But so many people here have offered to help me without expecting anything in return, and it's really touched me.
A two-way street of kindness felt by those who have crossed his path.
I feel like I got more out of it than he did. I gave him a meal. He gave me a huge lesson and just the generosity that he's experienced throughout this trip.
At the end of this journey, Yifei hopes to bike around Australia and Japan and eventually around the world. But on this day, under the blue sky,
This is freedom.
This is freedom. Yeah. Journey fueled by generosity from sea to shining sea. Gotti Schwartz, NBC News.
Okay, whoa, adorable. Maybe it's the sleep deprivation, but I feel like I'm going to cry.
He's having a good time. I love to see
We needed
that.
a story
Spreading
like that
goodwill.
this week.
No kidding.
Just us all coming together across the country. Love it.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now. Good morning. It's Friday. Thanks for being with us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, changing of the guard. This morning, we're getting a clearer picture of what a second Trump presidency will ultimately look like. With his chief of staff now tapped, what Mr. Trump told our Kristen Welker about his upcoming administration's plan for America, and what President Biden's message was to the nation yesterday on the heels of a grueling and divisive campaign. We're also watching your wallet, a key decision by the Federal Reserve opting to slash interest rates by another 1/4 point. What does that mean for your financial planning as America prepares for a second Trump White House? We're digging into the numbers. Also this morning, a relentless mountain wildfire torching tens of thousands of acres in Southern California. People there told to be ready to evacuate at a moment's notice. It's not the only state grappling with dangerous conditions. Why New Jersey is now seeing a record number of fires. Plus, we're getting ready to deck the plaza on this Friday morning with a special look at this year's Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. It's deep roots with one Massachusetts family as this towering Norway spruce prepares to light up lives and hearts right here in Manhattan. I've had the honor of profiling many families that have donated the tree over the years. This is without a doubt the most touching, sweet.
You've been saying that for weeks.
Emotional
so
story.
okay, well then I will cry.
There's a
We all know
special
that.
story behind it. So.
Also, are you ready for Savannah season? For me to be starting
Is
Monday.
that what it's called? It's no longer called Christmas or the holidays.
No, I just mean because you consider Christmas not to be for a few more weeks.
I need a couple more weeks.
When we get here Monday, that will be, we can see it from our offices, and I will start
That
to
will be
bother
true.
you.
That will be true. Though there will be boards around it for a few weeks. It's a thing.
Still there.
All right. We begin this hour, of course, with President-elect Trump's transition to a second term in the White House now well underway.
Yeah, Mr. Trump has named co-campaign chair Susie Wiles as his incoming White House chief of staff. This comes as other names are being floated for key roles in the new administration. Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker spoke exclusively with the president-elect about his top priorities, which include plans for mass deportations after he takes office.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. My call with President-elect Trump lasted about 15 minutes. It's clear he's feeling emboldened after his decisive win this week. He touted the fact that Republicans have won the White House, the Senate. They have a good chance of taking the House. The president-elect saying he believes voters have given him a broad mandate to implement his agenda, all as his White House team takes shape. This morning, President-elect Donald Trump is preparing for his historic return to the White House. In an exclusive interview telling NBC News, he believes he has a mandate to bring common sense back to the country. He said one of his first priorities to make the border strong and powerful. Asked about his campaign promise to deport millions of undocumented immigrants, Mr. Trump insisted his administration would have, quote, no choice. But how much would it cost? The president-elect tells telling NBC News there is no price tag. Mr. Trump touting his plan during his victory speech this week.
We're going to have to seal up those borders, and we're going to have to let people come into our country, but they have to come in legally.
It all comes as the president-elect begins to put the pieces in place for his next administration.
Susie, come here.
With his campaign manager, Susie Wiles, set to serve as chief of staff, a move that will make her the first ever woman to hold the position. Mr. Trump praising her on election night.
Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The ice baby, we call her the ice baby. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background.
For Attorney General, multiple sources tell NBC News Mr. Trump is looking at Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt, as well as Matt Whitaker, who served at the top of the DOJ in his first administration. The president-elect also eyeing his home state senators, including Senator Marco Rubio, whose name has been floated for several top cabinet jobs.
Donald Trump makes that decision, and he makes good decisions about the people that work for him. I've not talked to them about it.
One current government official who says he's not going anywhere, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, whose term runs until May of 2026.
If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
The president-elect also said he's spoken to nearly 70 world leaders, among them Prime Minister Netanyahu, the leaders of France and Italy. Mr. Trump has also spoken with Ukraine's President Zelensky, but had not spoken with Russian President Putin, though he said he expects to do so soon. Now, Putin has publicly congratulated Mr. Trump, calling him courageous and saying he's ready to talk. Mr. Trump has said he can end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours, but has not given details about how. Joe and Savannah.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much.
President Biden has reaffirmed his commitment to a peaceful transfer of power, calling on Americans to turn the page after a polarizing presidential campaign. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has more on what the president said in his first public address since Vice President Kamala Harris's defeat at the ballot box. Gabe, good morning.
Hey there, Joe. Good morning. The White House insists President Biden believes he made the right decision to leave the 2024 race. Whether he waited too long is now the subject of a fierce debate among Democrats.
The message from American voters was crystal clear. And speaking publicly for the first time since the election, so was President Biden.
On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America.
While defending his administration's accomplishments and legacy, he praised Vice President Harris.
She has a backbone like a ramrod.
Though he struck a unifying tone in the speech during the campaign, Biden described President-elect Trump in stark terms.
He's a threat to our democracy.
The White House responding to the shift in rhetoric.
To be clear, he still believes that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy.
I think that the president was very clear what he stated, and it was very honest. And what we are trying to do is respect what the American people decided. We're not trying to cause any divisions here.
But Democrats themselves are now divided as they try to chart a path forward, some speaking out about the impact of liberal voices on the party.
The far left has an outsized microphone and therefore has an outsized impact in shaping the perception of the Democratic Party.
This Democratic strategist message going viral.
We don't know how to speak to voters. We address Latino voters as Latinx, for instance, because that's the politically correct thing to do. It makes them think that we don't even live on the same planet as they do. Stop with the virtue signaling and just speak to people like they're normal.
While prominent Democrats are urging the party to focus more on the working class, who largely supported Trump. Senator Elizabeth Warren writing in a new op-ed, if Democrats want to earn back the trust of working people and govern again, we need to convince voters we can and will unrig the economy. The party now trying to move on from a crushing defeat.
Message received from the American people. They want us to get them things done, not talk about bills from the past, not talk about things that happened that somehow aren't relevant to their lives. They need people to stand with them.
Meanwhile, the battle over the U.S. House is still up for grabs. More than a dozen key races still have not been called. Republicans need 8 more seats to hold on to their majority, but Democrats face an uphill climb. Still, they have a path. Of course, with the GOP winning the presidency and the Senate, control of the House could be crucial to enact many of the Trump administration's policies. Joe and Savannah.
All right, Gabe, thank you so much.
As well as President-elect Trump's victory this week, Republicans also won a majority in the Senate, and taken together, those two factors could have a big impact on the Supreme Court.
In his first term, President-elect Trump put in 3 Supreme Court justices: Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. With 3 justices in their 70s now, Mr. Trump may have the chance to appoint more justices in his second term, potentially ensuring a conservative majority for decades.
NBC News Supreme Court reporter Lawrence Hurley joins us now with more on this. Lawrence, good morning. We're lucky to have your expertise on this. So which justices are conservatives eyeing to replace, and why?
Good morning. Yeah, I mean, what we're looking at here mostly is the older conservative members of the court, which would be the justices most likely to be willing to step down and be replaced by President Trump. So we're talking about Justice Samuel Alito and Justice Clarence Thomas, both of whom in their 70s. Justice Thomas will turn 80 towards the end of Trump's term. Justice Alito will be in his late 70s. And so I think a lot of Republicans now are sort of talking about the possibility that at least one of them could step down, possibly Justice Alito, maybe even as soon as the beginning of the Trump term, so that we get a Supreme Court nomination, in the next few months, possibly.
So, I mean, tell us more about what those appointments and what just a mega conservative majority could mean for the court and for the nation.
It would be huge. I mean, you'd have a situation where President Trump actually would have nominated and appointed a majority of justices on the court. The last president to do that was FDR back in, the 1940s. So, and that bakes in, this right-wing conservative majority for decades. They can push the conservative legal agenda on issues like gun rights and religious rights, and there'd be a major buttress against future Democratic administrations or Democratic Congresses that might pass laws that this conservative court could strike down. So it's going to have huge ramifications for a very long time.
And Lawrence, part of those ramifications, is it that we see more issues that sort of get decided at the Supreme Court then become those state issues that we see like on ballots in individual states, added to state constitutions, like what we saw happen with abortion this week? Do you anticipate more of that?
Yeah, that's right. I think there are ways in which Democrats and people on the left can try to push back on this, whether it's through ballot initiatives, by passing legislation in the states, and, of course, by winning control of Congress and the White House in future years. But, there's limits to that because the Supreme Court has the final say on what the Constitution means. So anything that they think goes against, their belief of what the Constitution protects or doesn't allow would be struck down. And there's not much anyone can do about that if it's an issue that, raises these federal constitutional issues. So there's definitely things they can do, but there are also limits.
Lawrence, will continue to rely on you as we watch this unfold over the next months and years. Thank you so much.
The Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 1/4 point yesterday. It's the Fed's second consecutive cut following a big 0.5 percentage point reduction in September.
Yeah, the widely expected move comes as Fed Chair Jerome Powell said Mr. Trump's election win would not have an immediate impact on the central bank's policy in the near term.
Here to talk more about what this decision means for you is NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Roman. So just tell us, what's the Fed saying here about the economy and inflation?
Well, the inflation fight is going well, essentially, is what the Fed is saying, and it's going to allow them to continue to lower those interest rates. Remember, they jacked up interest rates to try to calm inflation, to quell inflation, and the Fed essentially saying the economy is solid. The job market is cooling a little bit, which they like to see, but they don't want to see that too much, and inflation is getting closer to their 2% target, so they can cut interest rates again.
By the way, we blinked and you're back because you went for the meeting, and now here you are on set with us again. What does this mean for everyday consumers? Do we start to feel this soon in credit card bills and mortgages?
So you should start to see those consumer borrowing costs start to decline. Mortgages, though, are stuck here 6.98% I saw today. So there's a push-pull between the Fed lowering rates and market yields rising a little bit here because of indecision before the election, and then now kind of assessing what a Trump 2.0 is going to look like. So watch those bond yields. We're not seeing the mortgage rates decline as much as some people would have hoped, but who knows? Watch this space there. But the idea that the Fed could cut interest rates again one more time this year, then maybe pause in January. Now, why would the Fed be pausing after jacking up interest rates so much? The economy is still robust. It's still solid. The Fed chief called it remarkably resilient. So that's kind of an interesting moment where maybe they don't want to lower rates too aggressively because you could have inflation come back.
Let's talk about the relationship between Mr. Trump and Jerome Powell, which is, I think it's fair to say, been fraught in the past. We saw at the beginning of the hour in Kristen Welker's piece that he was asked, will you resign? Jerome Powell said no.
Yeah.
What is the relationship between these two? And also just remind us how this is supposed to work when it comes to the relationship between the Fed and the president.
So the president appoints the Fed chief, and the Fed chief has this long term, so they're sort of immune from the winds of politics in Washington. And the President Trump appointed Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell is a Republican, but he had been very critical of him recently, and also had said that he wishes, Trump says that in an interview, he said he could do a better job. He knows more about the central bank and apparently economics than the PhD economists who work there. Jerome Powell was asked yesterday, would you resign if Trump asked you to resign? He said no. Could you be demoted, or could your staff be demoted? He said it's not permitted under law. So I think it was the Fed chief sort of saying, we have a job to do here on inflation. We're going to continue to do it. We are independent from the White House. People could complain about us, but we're over here just looking at economic numbers.
It was kind of interesting how many times he was asked that, the different versions that he was asked, right? And I know, there was kind of a lot made about how this was actually an interesting press conference. I know it always is to you because you understand everything that they're always talking about that might be difficult for some of us, but being in the room, anything else that stood out to you?
You know, I think some of the interesting things about this were when asked about would the Fed be changing what they're doing because of Trump and his new policies. Jerome Powell, that was in the Q&A part, he read his answer there. I think he wanted to be very careful. I think he wanted to be very careful about what he was saying. They're not going to change what they're doing today because of incoming policies from the new president and his administration. They watch the data as it comes in, and then they tweak. I like to describe the Fed, for people out there who don't understand how this thing works, they're kind of like the shock absorbers on the car. Like, think of it that way. That's what the Fed does. It can move this interest rate up or down, and they have two things. The only thing that Congress, they're mandated to do is maximum employment, keep as many people employed as possible, and keep prices stable. So that's what they do, and they move interest rates to do that. And so they want to be independent from the White House while they do that.
And one of the key things they're likely going to be watching in the early months of the Trump administration is going to be whether the tariffs, how much of an inflationary.
That's exactly right. That's why they were asked, will Trump policies change what you do? Because tariffs are expected to be, by many economists think they will be inflationary. There are other policies, too, that could affect other parts of the economy, like mass deportations. What would that do to the housing market? What would that do to farming? So you'll have the Fed will react, they say, when something happens.
I'm totally stealing that shock absorber.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's a good way to think about it, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
good.
I love it. Christine, thank you so much. Well, now to Southern California, where firefighters are struggling to contain the fast-moving mountain fire. It's spread to tens of thousands of acres, destroyed more than 100 homes, and forced hundreds of people to evacuate. And it's not the only state dealing with bone-dry conditions this morning. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin is in California with the latest. Hey, Dana, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. So you mentioned it, those Santa Ana winds, they are dying down significantly, but there is still a red flag warning in the mountains. And on streets like this, half of the homes are in ruins. This morning, the relentless mountain fire still churning.
This is a challenging fire, and it's wind-driven fire.
Thick, billowing smoke and winds carrying embers for miles, driving this destructive fire forward. Aerial teams from around the state turning to local farmers for help.
Firefighters using this small reservoir on a nearby ranch to scoop up the water and carry it to the front line.
Steve Taylor barely made it out.
Got the wedding ring, got a couple more pictures of my dad, and jumped in the car. And then 10 minutes later, I guess the whole thing just blew up.
Margie Wager and her husband moved into their newly renovated home in February.
This is the front door. Garage, brand new washer dryer, everything's brand new.
Wow, so you've lost everything.
Everything.
The fire coming after a dry season and extreme Santa Ana winds. But these tender dry conditions are not unique to California. Nearly 74% of the U.S. is dealing with drought or abnormally dry conditions. New Jersey is dealing with a record number of wildfires amid its driest year in over a century. 400 in October and more than 100 the last week alone. Smoke there from the Bethany Run fire visible for miles.
You can't sleep. I was up all night making sure the wind didn't shift.
And while fires rage on both coasts, other states dealing with a different threat.
Wow. Just wow.
Snowstorms hitting Colorado and New Mexico overnight, with up to 14 inches expected in Denver today. Officials there warning of dangerous conditions as wild weather continues across the country. Here in California, that red flag warning will be in effect until 11 a.m. today, but we are not out of the woods yet. Fire officials are preparing for yet another Santa Ana wind event that could come Wednesday. Savannah?
All right, Dana Griffin, thank you so much.
Millions of people are waking up to red flag warnings this morning.
Yeah, in various parts of the country. Andrew Lastman is here with the latest. Hey, Andrew, good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. You heard Dana talking about the couple of spots that we're watching for the potential and really all the ingredients there to see fires start and spread quickly through the day today. So let's start in the Northeast, where we've got 49 million people under these fire alerts, stretching from Boston through New York, out into portions of Pennsylvania and down towards Washington, D.C. A good chunk of this region under these alerts this morning as we deal with record temperatures. We've had abnormally warm conditions over the past couple of days. We've got, of course, the drought conditions that we're going to talk about a little more, and we've got those gusty winds, 30-mile-per-hour winds. That just adds into it, and so we likely will see some of those fires being an issue today. We've already had reports of one happening in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, and that's going to be kind of the scenario that we see through the day today. Better news, you kind of heard Dana allude to it, for folks in Southern California. We're going to see those winds come down just slightly. They're not going to be eliminated completely, but we'll still see some of the low relative humidity that we're looking at and a bit of wind for folks in that region. But still, we've got the red flag warnings up. They expire by late morning, but we'll be watching at least for another couple of hours for this potential across this region. We'll see the Santa Ana wind event, though, kind of pick up here as we get into Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So that's something just to have in the back of your mind. If you live in that region, it'll likely be something we're watching here as we get into next week. Big picture look, though, we've got a whole lot of drought across the country. It's not the intensity of the drought that is really getting our attention. It's the record 87% of the continental United States that's under a drought right now. Really impressive. Nearly every state has some sort of drought happening. And specifically across the Northeast, we've had some spots that have been more than 40 days without rain. So that just shows you we need it. I think people notice their lawns need it. And so the moderate drought, about 57%, but even 20% of the region is in that severe drought. So some additional rain is needed, and it's just essentially not in the forecast. Where we do have rain and snow in the forecast, the middle of the country, and you saw that big picture drought map, they also are dealing with the drought. So this is good news for them. But a lot of times what happens is you get a whole lot of rain at once, and that, of course, helps the drought, but it also causes some flooding. So that's one of our concerns across this region through the day today. So no surprise, there's those flood alerts that are up right now. We've got one little flash flood warning in effect for parts of Oklahoma, and then a couple of spots near San Angelo dealing with a similar story for the flash flooding concern. That will last through the day today. Now, the winter storm is on the move. So through the day today, it's the snow across specifically Colorado, where you'll pick up some additional snow. You've already been dealing with it for a couple of days now. And then that heavy rain from really the central plains stretching down to the southern plains. Tomorrow, again, this is on the move. So the Midwest gets a little bit of rain, nothing as quite substantial as what they saw across the plains. But Tennessee and Ohio Valley gear up for some of that. And this is stretched across parts of the Great Lakes as well. Rainfall totals coming in about 1 inch to 2 inches in some spots. You can see Nashville, Alexandria, parts of Oklahoma. They're going to pick up maybe upwards of 2 inches in some locations. And this is good news. I mentioned that we do have drought conditions there. So the severe drought in these locations, that's going to be a big relief for folks there. So from Texas to Kansas, I know farmers will be happy about this. But again, that flooding concern will still be there. As we look ahead to tomorrow, here's your Saturday. The bookends of the country, I mean, they look nice. They're dry, which has caused a lot of problems for us here over the past couple of days. But they have plenty of sunshine on tap for your Saturday plans. It's the rain in the middle of the country that we look for. And then by Sunday, rain from the Gulf Coast to the Great Lakes, guys. It is much needed. I don't think I have to tell you that. I've been a broken record here, but we'll get a little bit of that.
That's good. Good news. Even we'll take the rain. Angie, thank you.
Of course.
Much more to come on this Friday edition of Morning News Now, including Prince William now opening up about what he calls the hardest year of his life.
But first, after the break, disturbing and racist text messages hitting the phones of Black Americans across the country. Where did they come from and why now? We're going to dig into it next.
Welcome back. This is a disturbing one. The FBI is investigating a series of racist text messages sent to Black Americans across the U.S. The source of these messages and how they got individuals' phone numbers is still unknown. NBC News Now anchor Zincle Esimwa spoke to one of the people who received one of those texts.
Corinne Freeman was at home with her kids on Wednesday when she got a text from a number she didn't recognize.
It was this odd, ominous feeling text message basically saying, hello, you've been selected to be a slave on a plantation, and you're scheduled to get picked up at 12 a.m. on November 13th.
How did it feel when you got that text message?
Well, I was immediately disturbed.
And she's not alone. Social media sites have been flooded with people from New York to Florida who say they've gotten these racist messages. Freeman and others believe the text may have been sparked by the current political climate.
I think that this is intentional to scare people of color, Black people, into a reality that we don't want to go back to.
The wording of the text appear to differ. Some have misspellings, others address individuals by name. But the theme is consistent, telling recipients they've been selected to pick cotton. All of the people NBC News spoke to who got these messages are Black. Several universities confirmed their students have reported receiving the texts. Clemson says they came from numbers associated with online spoofing sites. It remains unclear who is behind the messages. Text Now, which offers free phone numbers online, tells NBC News at least one of its accounts may be involved, writing in a statement in part, "We do not tolerate or condone the use of our service to send harassing or spam messages," adding they shut down the accounts and are working with authorities. For recipients like Corinne Freeman, the digital hate is fueling her real-world concerns.
I am overwhelmed with anxiety and fear about how I'm going to help my children make sense of the world that they have to navigate as Black children.
Zinclair Samoa, NBC News.
All right, let's go overseas now. Prince William has been speaking candidly about what he describes as a brutal year for him after both his wife and his father were diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, our UK partner Sky News reports that the Prince of Wales told journalists, "It's probably been the hardest year in my life."
NBC News international correspondent Kelly Kobiea joins us now from London with more on this. Kelly, good morning. So just remind us what the Prince of Wales has had to deal with in this past year.
Yeah, so he's really been front and center for the royal family and carrying the weight of the royal family's public duties after both his father, King Charles, and his wife, Princess Kate, were diagnosed with cancer at the beginning of the year. Both have been undergoing chemotherapy treatment for much of the year. Kate took a big step back away from public duties and has been very open about how difficult it's been to talk to their 3 children about her cancer diagnosis while dealing with it herself as well. And of course, Prince William supporting her. In September, she said she had completed treatment. She's now slowly stepping back into royal life. But Prince William said, looking back, it's probably been the hardest year of his life. He also said that he was so proud of his wife and his father and that his wife is doing really well. In fact, just today, guys, Buckingham Palace announced that Princess Kate will be at 2 events this weekend to honor the country's fallen war heroes, the first back-to-back public appearances for her since before her cancer diagnosis. So really a good sign for the royal family.
Oh, absolutely. Will be great to see her. Kelly, Prince William also talked to British reporters about his new role as Prince of Wales, also his Earthshot Awards. Tell us what else we heard from him.
Yeah, so he was asked if he was enjoying the added responsibilities and freedom that come with his new role. And he said it's a tricky one. He was really blunt here. He said he doesn't like having more responsibility. He's struggling a bit with that work-life balance. But he said he does like having the freedom to build upon his passion projects like the Earthshot Prize Awards. Those are awards which honor and help fund and encourage innovations that address serious environmental issues. And that is why he was in Cape Town, South Africa over the past week presenting those awards to this year's winners. He's also just launched a 5-year mission to end homelessness. And this is what he's talking about when he says this newfound freedom. He's able to launch these very personal projects, things that he'd like to focus on. And homelessness is one of his mother, Princess Diana's, was one of her premier causes as well. He said it's really important to him that he's helping people, that he's doing something good for people and something genuinely meaningful. Guys,
that is good to hear. I also want to ask you, Prince William told a sweet story about how his daughter, Princess Charlotte, reacted to his new beard. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, imagine this. His 9-year-old daughter, Charlotte,
burst into tears, he said, when he first grew a beard earlier this year. He said he had to shave it off, but he thought about it a bit. He was determined to grow a beard, so he grew it again and somehow convinced her it was all going to be okay. Apparently, she's okay with it now because he's still sporting it, as we've seen. And guys, he was also wearing a bracelet on this recent trip to South Africa. If you look closely, I don't know if we have a picture of it, but it said Papa. It was a friendship bracelet that Charlotte made for him for the Taylor Swift concert over the summer. And he said he promised her that he would wear it every day while away in South Africa this week, and said he'd try not to lose it. So we did spot it. We think it made its way back to the UK.
Very good.
But can you imagine that conversation about how do you convince your 9-year-old daughter that a beard is okay?
People, I can tell you, people have very strong reactions to beards.
Yeah.
So
my brother-in-law just
love 'em or hate
shaved his
'em.
for a Halloween costume, and it is like, whoa. I get it. It's a change.
I'm glad she's recovered. She's doing okay with the beard take 2. All right, Kelly, thank you. Appreciate it. Coming up, what is 4B?
After the break, we're going to take you inside the fringe feminist movement that's gaining steam on social media in the wake of President-elect Trump's win. That is next on Morning News Now. We are back with new developments in the investigation into the death of One Direction star Liam Payne. 3 people have been charged and arrested after the singer fell to his death from a hotel balcony in Argentina on October 16th. Prosecutors say someone who was with Payne daily in the country has been charged, along with a hotel employee and one other person accused of supplying the singer with narcotics during his stay. A toxicology report found that Payne had alcohol, cocaine, and a prescription antidepressant in his system in the last 72 hours before he died.
Now to a new twist in the Menendez brothers' fight for freedom. The district attorney who just weeks ago said Lyle and Eric Menendez should be released has now been voted out of office. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has been following this one and has the latest.
After an ambitious prediction from their lawyer,
I believe before Thanksgiving they will be home.
Eric and Lyle Menendez now facing a new wrinkle in their path to freedom, with a newly elected Los Angeles district attorney set to take office next month, potentially delaying their key resentencing hearing set by the outgoing DA. Nathan Hochman saying he'll need to review all the evidence once in office.
And if I need more time, I'll ask the court for more time. But I won't engage in delay for delay's sake. The Menendezes need to know what the answer is. The victim family members need to know what the answer is.
This just the latest twist in a case that's been thrust back into the spotlight 35 years after the murders of Eric and Lyle's parents, which the brothers call self-defense after years of alleged sexual abuse by their father.
I came home and I found them.
Interest in the case and sympathy for the brothers fueled by Netflix's dramatic retelling of their story, with some celebrities and true crime TikTokers advocating for their release.
What's the other side that maybe folks aren't hearing right now?
They're probably not hearing so much from the people who actually worked on the case. Those people take a much harsher view of this case than social media does, than those celebrities do.
In a new Dateline special, Keith Morrison talks to some of those people from the time of the trial, including the original prosecutor, Pam Bosanich, who says she does not believe the brothers were sexually abused and is questioning a new piece of evidence. This letter Eric allegedly sent to his cousin, where he writes about being afraid of his father.
I'd love to know when that letter was written.
You don't think it was written when they say it was written?
No, I don't. I think people fabricate things.
She's taken a lot of criticism. There's been a lot of, as she says, hate directed toward her. So much so that she has felt threatened on a number of occasions, and she went out and bought a Mossberg shotgun.
All following the Netflix series.
All following the series.
Morrison also revisiting an interview he conducted with Lyle in 2017.
When did you and Eric decide to kill your parents?
We didn't decide to do it. It was, we finally just kind of got overwhelmed with this panic and emotion and made the decision to run in that room.
Now, some 3 decades later, the motive behind the murders still a major question in this captivating case.
I don't myself, though. Remember, I've covered this for a long time. I don't know what the answer is.
Keith Morrison can say it like that. Our thanks to Liz Kreutz for that report. For the very latest on this case, be sure to watch tonight's 2-hour special on Dateline, The Menendez Brothers, Chance at Freedom. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central on NBC.
A lot of interest in that. Well, a feminist trend is gaining traction on social media. It's called the 4B movement. It started in South Korea with women swearing off all romantic relationships and connections with men. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa spoke to one influencer who says the election this week has inspired more women in the U.S. to join in.
President-elect Trump's victory already setting off a viral storm on social media.
Start by taking back your power.
It's time for action.
Some concerned women now taking radical steps. You may have seen it. Talk of the 4B movement gaining steam.
4B movement.
The 4B movement.
The 4B movement.
So what is it? Actually, a fringe feminist campaign from South Korea. The 4Bs, Korean for 4 no's, no marrying men, no giving birth, no dating men, and no sex with men.
There's so much pressure in South Korea for women to have kids, and women felt extremely undervalued. So they have sort of banded together to not kind of give into these societal pressures.
South Korea has the world's lowest fertility rate. Now, Google searches for 4B surging to record levels in the U.S. as one of its top trending searches in the last 48 hours.
I've been waiting for everybody else to catch up to speed for a while.
Alexa Vargas says she stopped dating men 2 years ago.
They like to keep us around for sexual pleasure, and they like to get married and have kids to have this family man sort of image, but really a lot of men don't value us.
Her TikTok post this week about 4B reaching more than 100,000 views.
I got hundreds and hundreds of comments on my TikTok talking about how women are wanting to participate in this movement now because of the results of this election, because women don't feel safe in this country.
My life! Adding fuel to the fire, posts from Trump-supporting provocateurs with large male audiences, like white nationalist Nick Fuentes saying, "Your body, my choice, forever." And self-described misogynist influencer Andrew Tate, facing rape and sex trafficking charges in Romania, which he denies, responding to the 4B movement saying, now you don't even need abortions. Trump's Supreme Court picks helped overturn Roe v. Wade, unleashing a wave of protests nationwide. His position on abortion access has varied, but during the final stages of his campaign, saying states should decide.
Whether the women like it or not, I'm going to protect them.
The Trump campaign did not respond to a request for comment on the 4B movement. As tensions build,
and you guys think it's just internet trolls, this is a problem.
A battle bursting onto our feeds and into America's culture wars.
Our thanks to Emily Aketa for that report. Well, the 4B movement, it already has more than 24 million posts on TikTok and counting.
All right, coming up, it is finally that time of the year again. Time to deck the plaza.
I'm so excited. After the break, Joe's got a very special sneak peek at the new Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. It arrives here tomorrow. We're going to tell you the heartwarming story behind its deep roots in one Massachusetts family's lives. Stay with us. That's up next.
We're back with a look at how election betting supercharged this year's presidential race. It's only legal on a select group of platforms here in the U.S., yet it still drew in hundreds of millions of dollars in wagers. Many Trump supporters won big money, but some experts are concerned a line has been crossed. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung explains.
On college campuses, students might spend their free time betting on football or basketball.
I bet $10,000 on Trump.
But thanks to a court decision just weeks before the election, this week, young Americans also legally bet on the presidential election. At the University of Pittsburgh, Luke Perry and his friends bet on Trump.
I don't know any girls really that bet, but I know all my guy friends betted.
Perry put $2,000 on Trump using a regulated exchange called Kalshi, netting $1,400 when he won.
It was a dream. It was awesome. It was like Christmas came early for me.
One of at least 3 platforms where election betting is legal, Kalshi advertised coast to coast, drawing more than $450 million in wagers. Tariq Mansour is the CEO.
We are a risk-on country that like to have skin in the game, like truth, like to basically engage with things and understand them better. And these markets are a mechanism for doing all of the above.
But experts say there are real concerns with allowing betting on elections.
In the election game, if you want to call it that, we are all on the field. The voters are all on the field. It's analogous to sports betting if the competitors themselves were betting on the game. And there are problems with that potentially.
Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley took aim at the apps prior to the election.
That is instead just turning election into a casino.
Election bets are nonetheless taking over social media. Kalshi even paid Perry to promote his bet on his accounts. But Perry says he voted for Trump before placing his wager.
Yeah, it is kind of a game, really. I mean, you campaign, the goal is, to get 270, points.
Brian Chung, NBC News, New York.
More money news now. Employees at Intel are now coming to work with their mugs half full.
CNBC's Bertha Coombs has that and some other financial headlines. Bertha, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I remember back in the day when they used to have free lattes at Silicon Valley companies. That's how I started drinking lattes. Intel, though, has told its employees that it's going to bring back free coffee and tea. It's one of the many perks that the chip maker canceled last summer as it looked to slash $10 billion from its annual budget. Employees have privately been saying morale has been low due to Intel's poor financial performance and cutbacks. The company is eliminating 15,000 jobs through layoffs, buyouts, and early retirement. Meantime, DraftKings CEO says the sports betting industry is at a turning point as more people now realize they can gamble legally. He tells CNBC that the platform is seeing a lot of great growth. DraftKings cut its financial guidance, though, for the year when it reported earnings last night. It now expects lower revenue because of, quote, customer-friendly sport outcomes, which translates to too many gamblers have actually been winning big. And a fond farewell to a voice you've mostly likely heard millions of times, Elwood Edwards. He's an announcer who voiced the AOL email alert, "You've got mail," passing away this week at the age of 74. AOL became synonymous with the internet back in the 1990s, and Edwards' tones were heard in cubicles, corner offices, and living rooms everywhere. He once said the alert started just as a test to see if it would catch on. At one point, his voice was heard more than 35 million times a day. If you are a millennial and were born in this century, you probably have no idea what AOL is. But
no, I do. Oh, my gosh.
Instant
Messenger
for the rest of us.
Big time. I love that. Also, Bertha,
Right?
Joe, and I like lattes, too. So we're all a little latte group. Thanks, Bertha.
And a fun fact about Elwood, I met him 20 years ago. He was actually an employee at the NBC affiliate in Cleveland.
Oh, my gosh.
KYC. Super nice guy. All right. It is the most wonderful time of the year. Rockefeller Center preparing to kick off the holiday season with a beloved tradition, the arrival of the famous Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. It's going to arrive in Midtown Manhattan early tomorrow morning. This year, the 74-foot spruce, it comes from West Stockbridge, Massachusetts. It's the first Rock Center tree from that state since 1959, and the family donating the tree likes to think it's heaven sent.
The Berkshires in western Massachusetts are like a sprawling outdoor art gallery, and this is the masterpiece, deeply rooted in the Albert family's yard.
How does it feel to have your tree picked as the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree?
Well, I consider it probably one of the greatest honors of my life.
Earl and his wife Leslie were newlyweds when they moved here in 1966, adding the tree a year later.
When the family planted the tree in 1967, it was about waist high. Now, here we are 57 years later, and you can see this Norway spruce is 74 feet tall.
We first used to decorate it when it was small, and then it got so big that I couldn't decorate it.
But they always enjoyed it, from Earl's son Michael and his wife Sean to their kids who played in a sandbox shaded by the tree's branches. A towering beauty that in 2020 caught the eye of Rockefeller Center's head gardener who knocked on the Albert family's door.
And then Michael said, "Do you think he's like an angel or something?"
You see, just days earlier, Leslie had passed away.
This is definitely her
doing.
her handiwork.
What do you think she's thinking?
I'm thinking she's thrilled.
They got a card from the family that donated last year's tree with this message:
You'll never forget the sound, the flip of the switch and the roar of the crowd. You'll get chills and just the emotion. It's overwhelming emotion.
It'll get to me, I'm sure.
What do you think you'll be thinking of in that moment?
Leslie, how much she enjoyed trees, and how much she enjoyed Christmas.
And how this holiday, their family will be much bigger.
Honestly, it's a tribute to my mom. It's a new beginning for the tree. It's a new beginning for our family.
I'm crying, as you said I would.
So in the spot where that tree once stood, the Albert family plans to put a memorial to Leslie. They are going to be here tomorrow when the tree arrives at Rockefeller Center. I'll be there with them. We'll carry it live on the Today Show. They'll be here again when the tree is lit on December 4th. So when you look at the tree, when you see the lights, maybe think of Leslie. She loved Christmas so much. Their family actually owned the grocery store in that community, and they would throw huge Christmas parties every single year for people who lived in that neighborhood. So this truly is a tribute to her.
Oh, my God. I have nothing else to say.
When I heard the story behind the tree this year, I was like, oh, my goodness, that is so beautiful.
It's amazing. So it was just days later.
Literally just days later. It was a few years ago. Eric is constantly looking for trees.
Right.
He's looking ahead years. He takes care of the trees once he's picked them to make sure they're getting enough water, especially with all the dryness we've been dealing with. So it's beautiful.
Oh, totally an angel. That's amazing. Coming up, Halloween. We're switching holidays. It may be in the rearview mirror, but that doesn't mean those on-screen scares have to stop.
Yeah, after the break, we're talking about a chilling religious thriller featuring a terrifying performance from Hugh Grant. Grab your popcorn. We've got more on that and everything else from the world of entertainment you simply can't miss this weekend. That's up next.
All right, it is Friday. That always means it's time for your weekly can't miss list. All the films and shows you need to see this weekend. I feel like we could all use a little break. We could all go watch something. We've got our friend, we're so lucky, on set. Bravo personality, host of Shaken and Disturbed, Darren Karp. Hi.
Hi.
Happy to see you. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Okay, so you know I like scary stuff, but I'm kind of like moved on. I'm like, it's Christmas time, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but we have a new scary movie to talk about.
Okay, this is like, I like scary movies. I am so excited about this one, okay?
It's like really super scary?
Heretic. Well, I'm a psychological thriller type of person. I don't really like monsters and gore, but this one is Heretic. And so it's about two young religious women who are part of the... they're members of the LDS community, and they go knocking on a door, and they meet Mr. Reed, who's played by Hugh Grant. Now, Hugh Grant is not normally in a scary kind of thrillery role, so this is very different for him. And they get lured into his house in what can only kind of can be described as like this cat and mouse game to sort of prove their devotion to their religion. It is super creepy, super compelling. It sits like in the 90 percentile in Rotten Tomatoes, so people are really liking it, and it's such a different role for him. So you gotta see it. Yes,
and that sounds so like a plot I would love. Like, why didn't this come out like last month?
That's what's well. It came out earlier, like in the UK and stuff like that, and so it just finally released in the United States. I think that they were just trying to get some like fanfare around it.
Oh my gosh,
I'm not.
That would have been a good Halloween time.
Listen, like if you have your wreath out in March, I'm upset, but like other than that, like have a Christmas movie in January 1. Like enjoy yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I just, because I felt, well, whatever. We need to move on. We have new Christmas movies also.
Yes, we do.
Tell us about those.
Okay, best Christmas pageant ever. This stars Judy Greer. Everyone loves Judy Greer. I will say this is this is like 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I'm almost surprised about. It's like
Christmas movie, right?
It's a fun Christmas movie. It also stars Pete Holmes, who I love and adore. So essentially, it's about these 6 the Herdmans. They're terrorists. They are terrorists in the city. They're the worst kids ever. They break into a church to kind of try and steal candy, steal some favor, and they end up getting cast in the Christmas pageant. And they sort of teach us, and it's a little rough for Judy Greer, but they sort of teach us the meaning of Christmas.
So it's funny, it's a comedy.
It's funny, it's lighthearted, it's family related. Very, very cute.
Love it. And also another one, Christmas Eve in Miller's Point.
Yes, Christmas Eve in Miller's Point, a little bit more funny for more adults. If you were a suburb kid, which I definitely was, and you kind of like go back to your childhood home, and then you kind of want to go around the town that you grew up in. Like, this is kind of all the feels, but this takes place at Miller's Point, and essentially it's a loud, very warm, very fun Italian-American family. They're big. They're spending their last Christmas Eve at their family home because the matriarch of the family decides to sell it, and so they're kind of enjoying all of these fun little little things. And then the teenagers, the young generation.
They both look really funny.
It's very good. The teenagers, it's also in the 80 percentile of Rotten Tomatoes.
Where can you watch these?
They are in the cinema right now.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll come out streaming soon enough. But these are all in the theaters.
I haven't been to movies in so long. Also, this is random, but I feel like we're like looking like sisters today, like the black leather is. I don't know what's on camera.
Is this the time that we tell people that we're related?
There's so much love here. Okay, Amelia Perez. Everybody's been waiting for this one.
This is getting so much Oscar buzz. In fact, this actually might be the first Oscar nomination for a trans actor in a major category, which is huge. But Amelia Perez, it's on Netflix, stars Zoe Saldana. It's weird because it's a French film, even though it's in Spanish. So that's a little bit weird. And it's also a musical. It stars Selena Gomez as well. But essentially, Zoe Saldana plays this underappreciated lawyer who gets tapped by the head of the cartel to fake his own death because he wants to undergo gender reassignment surgery to sort of become the woman that he always really wanted to be. Obviously, it's in a cartel, so it's very, very dark. There's a lot of death, there's a lot of destruction, but there's also a lot of beauty, and it's also a musical. So it really is genre bending in a lot of different ways. But Carlos Sofia Gascon is the cartel leader, and she might be the first major category to win an Oscar, and a trans nominee to win an Oscar in a major category. So
what a cast!
This is the movie to sort of watch. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk to TV shows. Yeah. Streaming series. Okay. First, Yellowstone. Remind me what's going on here. So
you seemed a little confused when you were like,
because I love Yellowstone, and then I thought it was over, but there's more.
This is the problem with television a little bit, is because it's created by a lot of movie people that they can't do something timely. So it's been almost 2 years since we got the last season of Yellowstone. The last few episodes aired in January of 2023. So you might want to do a refresher. So the final 6 episodes. Technically, it's part 2 of season 6.
I remember
that. The final 6, and I say this in air quotes because Taylor Sheridan and everyone kind of came out saying it was going to be the final 6, but now there's rumors that that might not be true. Kevin Costner actually starred as John Dutton. It's about the Dutton ranching family. He is not going to be in the final 6 episodes. So Kevin Costner, main character, not in the final 6, which is really, really interesting. But I say you should watch it because Kelly Riley, who plays Beth Dutton, is probably one of my favorite TV characters of all time. She's like my hero.
Crazy.
She's amazing. The final 6 air starting November 10th on Paramount Network, 8 p.m.
You're amazing. We love when you visit us.
You're
our
my
LA
sister.
Lady, Darren Karp. Sisters, thank you so much. Also, we cannot end the hour without mentioning somebody amazing on our team. Producer Tyler. He is off to Florida to get married. Let's look at this. Here he is with his beautiful fiance. Oh, no, there he is in the control room.
I was going to say his fiance is beautiful, too.
Congratulations from the whole Morning News Now team. Oh, there they are. There's Kelly. We love you both. Congrats. We can't wait to see pictures. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. But the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.